What is a Dibbuk?
Okay, I'll answer the question, but I'm not going to answer the question in a narrow way. I'm going to answer the question in a comprehensive way, which I think will be beneficial to many more people. But it'll take it out of the realm of mythology and superstition and the occult, I suppose. I'm going to give you a brief summation of what happens to a person when a person passes away. The neshama leaves the guf. When there's a rule in Torah that says everything that exists has life. Everything that exists has life. Everything that exists has life. Even a stone has life. So when a person passes away, if the life departs completely, then the body should decompose instantaneously. It should come apart completely. The reason it doesn't, the reason it happens slowly and gradually, is because the life of the body leaves in stages. 3 days, 7 days, a month, and so on. And as the neshama leaves the body goes through additional stages of decomposition until, as the pasuk says, alafa tosha, become dust again. Parenthetically, incidentally, there's a note from the Rabbi that I saw, which explains what is wrong with cremation. Right, today, cremation is very popular. God forbid someone passes away, you burn the body. It's cheaper, it's more efficient, and so on. Cremation is heipech hatera. You're not allowed to cremate a body, you have to bury a person, according to the laws of the Shulchan Aruch. So somebody once asked the Rebbe, why is cremation not allowed? And the Rebbe said very plainly, because it hurts. A person's died, but as long as there's a body, there's life. You're not perceiving that life, but it's there. And when you burn them up, you're accelerating the process of returning to the dust, and it's like killing a living person. It's pasha painful. That's what the Rebbe wrote. So the body decomposes step by step, gradually, incrementally. It doesn't take very long. Bodies disappear quite quickly. Of course, the guf kaddish of a tzaddik is a whole nother parsha. And it's actually very good for the body to decompose. In other words, you want to make a levaya as quickly as possible, put a person in the ground as quickly as possible, and you do not want to preserve the body. Preserving the body is worse than destroying the body. Because if you preserve the body, the neshama cannot leave. You put the body on the ground, under the ground, and as quickly as possible the body decomposes and the neshama departs. So long as there's a guf there, the neshama is connected to the body. So there's a concept in Kabbalah and Sifrei Musa called chibut hakever. Chibut hakever means that the neshama is visited while in the grave by forces that make the neshama uncomfortable. What you must understand is that the moment the person passes away, they have no conscious control over themselves. When you're alive, you make choices. You choose where to go, you choose what to say, you choose what to think, you choose how to direct your life. When a person passes away, it's like you're in a dreamlike state. You know, when you're in a dream, the whole world around you moves. And as the Chelmer story goes, you're stuck in one place and you can't move. You're immobile, you can't move. So when you're having a dream and the dream gets a little bit uncomfortable or very uncomfortable, so you run away, and the only way to run away is to wake up. And every person, after he wakes up, wishes he can go back to sleep to see the end of the story. But when a person has passed away, their reality is that. They have no control. They're controlled by their environment. And when you're stuck in the guf, you're trapped until the body will let the neshama leave. So there are nitguter, there are forces that come and give the neshama yisurim. And the purpose for these yisurim is a zichuch. It refines the body it's discussed in Tanya Perek Ches for what things chibut hakever cleanses. It's not Gehenim, but it's still yisurim. What happens to the neshama when the body decomposes? So it leaves the body, but it's still in the space of the universe, the physical space. And then you have a process which is called kaf hakela. It's a similar idea. Kaf hakela is a period where you don't have any conscious control. So you're literally bouncing around like a billiard ball. You know, if you could visualize a ball that just hits a surface and then goes in another direction to another surface, and you just completely subservient. You're completely subject to whatever it is that you bounce into. That's how kafakela is described. It's a pasuk in Tanakh. Kafakela means a person who finds himself in a situation that they have no control over themselves, and they're being battered around from one to the other, from one place to another place, and so on. Kafakela is also a form of Yisurim that the neshama experiences. It also serves the purpose of zichuch. And again, in Tanya Perek Ches, the Alter Rebbe discusses that as well. And the one thing that's constant about Chibut HaKever and Kafakela is not cleansing for Avedis. It's cleansing for Dvarim B'Telim. It's cleansing for Taivis. It's not cleansing for Avedis. To cleanse Avedis, you have Gehenim. Chibut HaKever and Kafakela cleanse the neshama from things which are less than Avedis. And of course, what's supposed to happen is then you have to go to the heavenly court, the Beis Din Shel Maila. And in the expression of the Gemara, Mutav de Ladaina, V'leis Dalma de Asa, it's worthwhile to be judged, wherever the judgment is, you have to go to Elam Haba. And when the person is judged, they go to Gehenim. And the maximum time when a Neshama could be in Gan Eden is 12 months. And of course, the Minig Yisrael Torah is no one says Kaddish for 12 months, you say Kaddish only for 11 months, because nobody wants to suspect that his father is a Rosh. And then when the Neshama finishes with Gehenim, it goes to Gan Eden. When the neshama comes to Gan Eden, it has aliyahs 3 times a day, and every year in a yarta it has a larger aliyah. Each time the neshama has an aliyah, has to go through a river of fire, a nahar dinur, and then there's a beam of light, and amud, which pulls it up into Gan Eden. And of course, all of these stages have challenge, hardship, pain. So the point that needs to be made is that when a person is going through Yisurim, when a person is suffering, there's 2 angles on it. If you are a person who watches your health, you do excessive exercise, you run a lot, or you lift weights, or you do exercise in other ways, you push your body to the point of exhaustion. You're not going to call that suffering. To the contrary, it's liberating, because you're choosing to push your body to its limits to achieve a certain state of health. But if you didn't know why you were doing it, or somebody else made you do it, the person had you lift rocks and carry them up a hill, and their intention is to make you healthy, but as far as you're concerned, they're your master and you're a slave and they're driving you, you would resent it and you would hate it and you would suffer. So how a neshama experiences these Yisurim determines what it is. And Gehenim specifically means that you find yourself in a situation where you're going through Yisurim and you don't know why. That's what makes it hell. What makes it Gehenim is not just that it's painful, that it seems purposeless. So you have all of these steps, Chibut HaKever, then you have Kafakela, then you have a judgment, then you have Gehenim, and so on. Sometimes it happens that they don't let the neshama out of the space of the physical world. They don't let him into Beis Din Shel Maila to be judged. It's an einish. Not that you're going to go to Gehenim, they're not even going to judge. So then the neshama experiences one of the worst types of tzad imaginable, which is called Gilgul. Gilgul means the neshama valgatzach. The neshama is stuck in the space of the universe until someone will come along and elevate the neshama. And this is where Dibbuk comes in. These neshamas that are mizgalgal need an aliyah. But of course they're spiritual, nobody could see them. So the only way they could possibly have an aliyah, that means to be corrected, is that they connect themselves to something physical. And that physical thing is then used for a mitzvah or for avodas Hashem in some way by a yid, and it elevates the neshama, and the neshama can go into the Beis Din Shel Maila and be judged, and go to Gehenim and go to Gan Eden and so on. But sometimes the einish is so severe that the tzad of Gilgul can go on for even hundreds of years. And sometimes these neshamas are mizgalgal in different things, in a plant, in an animal, in a fish, and on rare occasion it's mizgalgal in the body of a person. That's the concept of a dibbuk. That's the idea, that you have a neshama that's experiencing the worst kind of tzad imaginable. And it's explained in Chassidus, what's the worst kind of pain that a neshama can possibly have? That it exists, and it's here, nobody sees it, nobody hears it, nobody responds to it, because as far as everybody else is concerned, it doesn't exist. And it's trying very, very hard to find expression. So when it enters into the body of another person, and of course, it's not going to enter into the body of a person that's healthy and strong spiritually, it's going to find a weak spot that it can enter in, like all illnesses that they attack people when they're weak. So this is a spiritual illness. A person who's already down, there's a concept of Gilgul. It's what Dibbuk is. And of course, then you have a concept of of being Mailed in Neshama, of being Metaken at Gilgul, and allowing the Neshama to be redeemed and to have peace and so on. And there are stories in the Kisvei Arizal and the Shara Gilgulim you have, that Reb Shmuel Vital tells stories of a Gilgul that he was Mailed and so on. I don't think Dibbuks are as common as people want to make them seem. I think it's quite rare, but there is such a concept in Kabbalah. And I would also argue that it's not just Stam Azay Neshamas that are Mizgalgal. You're talking about very great Neshamas that fell very, very low, that the only tikkun for them is this tsar for hundreds and hundreds of years in some cases. And on occasion you have this kind of an end where it attaches itself to a body of a person. That's what a Dibbuk is. I'm just going to finish by telling you a story with the Alter Rebbe, which is brought from Chassidim, about a Dibbuk that the Alter Rebbe was Mesaken. The story basically is that they brought to the Alter Rebbe a person who was acting crazy. He'd been a normal, reasonable human being, and now he was saying things that he should not have been saying, that were not a part of his world and a part of his lifestyle, which were connected to Yanim of Avodah Zarah. And they brought this person to the Alter Rebbe. When they brought this person to the Alter Rebbe suddenly said a Torah to be Melamed Zchus on the Yidden who murdered Zechariah HaNavi. In the time when the first Beis HaMikdash was a Navi, his name was Zechariah. He was also a Kohen Gadol. And he was murdered on Yom Kippur on the Mizbeach. And the Gemara says in Masechet Gittin that his blood wouldn't stop boiling. And when the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Nivuzrad and Rav Atabachim came into the Beis HaMikdash, and he saw the boiling blood, and he started asking questions. And eventually he found out what it was, and he says he's going to kill Yidden Rachmana Litzlan until the blood stops boiling. And he killed so many people, he became disgusted with himself. And he ran away. And the end of the story was that he became a Ger Tzedek, as they state in the Gemara. And from this Vizradin, who became a Ger Tzedek, came out, get this, Reb Meir. But anyway, Zechariah Navi was murdered. The people who killed Zechariah were the Shoyim. But besides being the Shoyim, they were pushed sick on Yom Kippur, in the Beis HaMikdash, a Kohen Gadol. And the Alter Rebbe was Melamed Zchus. What was his limud Zchus? He said a Torah that Zechariah was a Navi who was mandated to say a nevuah about the Churban HaBayis, of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. And he didn't want to say it. Why? Because we know from Chazal that when a Navi has a nevuah, if it's liba lepuma loy galya, until the Navi speaks it, Hashem koyachal will change his mind. Once there's liba lepuma galya, once it comes out through the mouth of the Navi, it's been brought into the physical space of the physical earth, physical universe, and it's irreparable, it's irreversible. So Zechariah had to say a Navi he didn't want. So the Yidden had Rachmanas on him and they murdered him. Now you understand yourself, this was a liba tzchus, this was a spin or a twist on an otherwise sick story. And when the Alter Rebbe said this Torah, the Dibbuk left. The Alter Rebbe explained that this was a Yid who was Mizgalgal over 2,000 years, 2,500 years. Since the time of the first Beis HaMikdash, because he was one of the people who murdered Zechariah HaNavi. And by saying this Torah, it was Maila the Dibbuk. This is what it is. This is the idea of a Dibbuk and a Gilgul. I just don't think we should worry about these things. You know, in class today, the girls asked me about this, which is how this idea came to me. So one of the girls mentioned that there was a school of thought that said that people who are disturbed emotionally and suffer from psychosis or other kind of mental illness are Dibbuks. In the 19th century, they used to think that. They used to think that all people who were not emotionally like everybody else were possessed, and they would torture them. They would do terrible things to them. Now people understand when a person's not well emotionally, that's exactly what they are. Not well emotionally. And not chas v'sholom that there's something wrong with them spiritually.